This message is brought to you by House on the Rock Fellowship. We're a church that serves and cares for the Miami Valley region in Ohio. Before you continue, make sure to access the notes from our download section of our message page and have your Bible ready. Thank you for being our guest.
I missed you guys. Thank you for missing me. That always feels good when people come back. We're glad that you're back. Oh, thank you for noticing I wasn't here. That means so much. We were vacationing. I took a couple Sundays off. We were camping on the other side of the state, sat next to the Mohican River for about 10 days, floated and kayaked and canoed and did all the fun things. Missed you very, very much. Sweated like there was no tomorrow. I'd love to say I lost 10 pounds, did not happen. One of the things that we like to do out there, because of the Mohican River and its topography, it's relatively wide, slow-moving, shallow river. So people love to kayak on it and canoe on it and just get floats. We have a giant 8-person flamingo named Coco, and we suspend a speaker on it, and we just sing and float down the river and wave at people as we go by. Well, Elise's sister and her family will often come out and join us for that week, and so we try to line up a river trip, about a 7-mile kayak, and we'll all go out there together. And we'll run up the river. It's about 7 miles, and there's a couple big canoe liveries that are there. And hundreds of people will come out and get in their boats and the rafts and the kayaks, whether or not they know anything about boating. I taught canoeing for many years. Very comfortable in a boat. Give me a paddle, give me a boat, I'll have fun all day. But you show me a bunch of people who know nothing about canoeing, that's fun. That's fun. Because you'll get out there and you'll know right away the type of people who know boating, who know small craft. They know how to hold the paddle, or whether it's a kayak, they know how to maneuver the river. They can read the current, they can see the eddies, they can see they know how to. But the person who doesn't, you know right away. And what I think happened more than a few times was, because we were leading up to Father's Day weekend, I'm pretty sure in some of these households, there was a mom who said to the dad, "You know what would be fun? What if we all went rafting together?" And so you would see in this 8-person raft, dad on the one edge with the one paddle, his miserable family in the center, and some poor kid who never held a paddle in his life on the other. And dad just wants it to be done because it's 500 degrees out and they keep getting stuck. So he's like, just paddle. And this kid's on the other side, paddle, 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 paddle. And dad's paddle, 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 paddle. And so if you know anything about boating, they're just doing this. They're just spinning in circles. And the more dad yells, the more they paddle and the more they spin. And I'm like, I love my life. I love my life. I love my life. One poor canoe, the woman in the back had some abilities. The woman up front knew nothing. And you always will know someone who has no small craft skills when it comes to canoeing. Because a lot of it starts with how they hold the paddle. Okay, they'll hold the paddle like this, not like this. You always put your hand on the end so you can control the blade. All right, so that one was free. You don't have to add that to the offering. Okay, she holds it like this, and she's desperately, but then she'll start heading the wrong direction. So she won't switch hands. She'll just stick it like this. End up knocking herself out, and they just went from one side of the river to the other. And she was trying so hard, and I'm like, I love my life. I love my life. Because Elise's sister and family was with us, that meant we were canoeing with my niece, Kylie. She's 10. And this was the first year that we put Kylie in a kayak by herself. Normally, she would tandem with myself or with parents or with her aunt. But she said, you know what? Kylie's old enough. We've done this river before. It's 7 miles, good current. She'll be fine. We'll put her in a kayak by herself. Now, these are not age-graded boats, age-graded paddles. She has an adult-sized kayak paddle that weighs more than she does. And she's just trying that first quarter mile. She's desperately trying to survive the path. Desperately trying to survive. And it weighs a lot. And I'm like, hey, let's learn how to do this. Let's learn how to do this. So I pulled up next to her in my kayak and I flipped it around so I was facing her. I'm like, hey, Kylie, hold it like this. Now just rest it in the water on the left side. So she'd rest it in. Watch what the boat does. And she'd veer off. All right, put it on the other side. And it'd veer off this way. Okay, paddle like this. Nice and soft and controlled. In about 5 minutes, she was doing exactly what she wanted to do. And she was maneuvering all over that river. And she was having a great time. Because she knew how to handle the water. She knew how to avoid the obstacles. She knew how to read the water ahead and say, oh, that's going to be a rock. I can see the ripples. I can read the eddy. Oh, there's a little bit of a sandbar. I'm going to paddle over on this way. She knew how to read the river ahead of her. But many, many, many people, just one side of the river to the other. And instead of fun, it was frustration. And 7 miles later, who knows how many marriages were on the rocks and parents weren't talking to each other. You ever felt that way in your faith? That you have absolutely no control over what's going on? And you feel like you're running the rapids without a paddle or even a life jacket? You're completely confused at what God seems to be doing, and you don't know if you should speed up or slow down. There's someone in the Gospel of John who felt that way. His name was Thomas. And I'd love for us to look at something Thomas said this morning and Jesus' response. It might really help you where you're at. So if you would turn to John chapter 14. John chapter 14. I'm going to read just the first 6 verses, and we're going to drill down on 4 words. John chapter 14. To our guests, hello. It's nice to see you. Thank you for being here this morning. If you just came in for the air conditioning, that's great. You're more than welcome. The bathrooms are over there. To our normal people, I'm happy to see you too. I love you guys. And for those online, thank you for being there. Let's take out a copy of the Bible. John chapter 14. I'm going to read the first 6 verses. This is Jesus' closing message. He's going to be arrested in a few hours. He's going to be crucified, and within 24 hours, he will be buried in a tomb. And so he's giving his disciples big words, important words. He's trying to encourage them for what lies ahead on their path. In John chapter 14, starting in verse 1, let not your hearts be troubled, Jesus says. Believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, would I have told you that I go prepare a place for you? And if I go prepare a place for you, I will come again and will take you to myself, that where I am, you may be also, and you know the way to where I'm going. Notice what Thomas said. This is what I would have said. Lord, we don't know where you're going. How can we know the way? How many of you felt that before? Yeah, I'm reading what you're saying, Jesus, but I got no clue what you're doing right now. I don't know where we're headed. I don't know how to read the road. I don't know what's going on. Who's been there? Yeah. How can I know the way? So thankful for an honest Christian. Honest Jesus follower. When we're camping, I like to play cards and sit around the fire, and there's just one card game we'll play, and I won't tell you the name. Some of you will know the name. In fact, because I'm not saying the name, some of you already know the name of the game. And we sit around, we deal out all the cards, okay? And all you do is you lay down what cards you have, but you lay them down face down, and you do it in order. So I have 2 2s, and the next person, he has 3s. Well, I have 1 3, and the next person, I have 4 4s. I have 5s. You just keep going around. Well, because you have cards in your hand, and people lie, fact, the game's all about lying. Some of us are a lot better at it than others. I don't lie very well. I always laugh. I have bad tells. So you could be sitting, someone could say, I have 3 twos. And you're like, I've got 2 twos. There's no way. So you might say, yeah, we'll go with that. You'd say, liar. And then they have to flip the cards over to show is what they said they had, what they actually had. And if they were telling the truth, you've got to take the whole pot of cards, okay? Or if they were telling the truth, you got to take the, yeah, so we're going around. And so many times that's what we do in the Christian life. Oh, I've got it all together. Oh, I've got it all together. I've got it all together. Everything's fine. Everything's good. Everything's great. And you're looking at your card saying, yeah, no way. No way. In fact, I know you're not telling the truth. Thomas shows up and he tells the truth. I have no idea, God, what you're doing. Jesus, I have no idea where we're headed. And I certainly don't know how to get there. Maybe you feel that way this morning. And if that's how you feel, I am so glad that you're here. Because I want you to hear what Jesus says next to Thomas. And he says to you and he says to me. Thomas says, we don't know the way. And Jesus says, Thomas, I am the way. I am the way. We're going to unpack this morning what that means. Because as we follow the way of Jesus and walk with Jesus, what starts to happen at times is that road gets bumpy and it can get confusing and it can get foggy and it can hard to see what's around the bend, and it's really difficult to stay on the way. So let's slow down and talk about some of the spaces and places and paces and delays that we might encounter as we stay on the way. What is a way? A way is a road. That's what that word means. Jesus is using the word for road or highway. A road through something to something. It's a road through something to something. A prescribed path to a preferred place. Can you remember that? A prescribed path to a preferred place. You guys in Western Ohio are famous for this, okay? The way you name roads is brilliant. I love it. I know where I am. I know where I'm headed. Where I live in the northern end of Troy, I get on Troy-Piqua Road. Guess where I'm starting at? Guess where I'm going to end up? I love that. That's awesome. There's Troy-Urbana. Guess where I'm starting? Guess where I'm going to end up? Urbana. I love it. This is so good. Jesus says, I'm the way. I'm the way. And when things are bumpy and shaky and it's hard to see around the bend, it's important to remember to stay on the way. And so I went through John's gospel and I found places where Jesus leads people in difficult places and hard stays. And said, well, maybe we could reflect on some of those this morning, and maybe some of them or one of them connect with you. Specifically in the beginning, a couple spaces that might resonate with newer followers of Christ. If you haven't been following Jesus for a while, you can find that it's not fun all the time. In fact, it can get pretty darn difficult. Because through something to something, some spaces, some places feel very unknown, very unfamiliar. You're in a new relationship. You're doing a new thing called faith, church. There's new books and new lingo, and you aren't real familiar with the space that you're moving into. And that's just like Jesus. Just like Jesus. In the beginning of John's gospel, in John chapter 1, starting in verse 38 and 39, a couple of disciples who are leaving John the Baptizer to follow Jesus come up and say, hey, Rabbi, where are you staying? Where are you staying? That's a question a type A would ask, right? Yeah, some of you would ask Jesus that question. And what do you want to know? So is this a nice hotel? Does it have a breakfast bar? Who's funding this? How is this getting paid for? Where are we going to have breakfast at? Are we eating at a Cracker Barrel? Is it more like a Waffle House? What if we stay at a nice place? People want to know, where are we going? What are we doing? Jesus, where are you staying at? And Jesus' response is brilliant. This is the first time he speaks in John's gospel. This is what he says. Come and see. Come and see. Whoa, 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 whoa. I need agendas. I need spreadsheets. I want to see flow charts. I want to know where. No, where. Give me the where. Give me the how. Give me the who. Give me the road ahead. I need to see a little bit more. Jesus, come and see. In moments where you find the space unknown, especially to my new brothers and sisters in the faith, Jesus does this to deepen our faith, to establish and start this nurturing relationship that he wants to have with you. He wants you to trust him. So he's not going to give you everything. In fact, he might give you very little in the journey of faith in the beginning. Come and see. Stay on the way. Come and see. You start attending church and the preacher starts talking about tithing. And you're like, what's tithing? And you walk up to someone after church. Oh, that's when we take 10% of our money and we give it to the ministries of the church so that the kingdom can grow. And you're like, you do what? Yeah, we take a percentage of our income because it all comes from God and we give it to the church. And so we can do like hope projects and staff and ministries. And yeah, so we give to how much? 10%. 10%. That's a tithe. I've never done that before. That's an unknown space to me. Or you start to hear that our time should be used for ministry. Our time should be used to serve others. Like, well, I've only ever served myself. I've only ever taken care of me. I've only made sure that I got mine. Well, Jesus says, we're supposed to serve. Oh, that's new. Yeah. In your beginning journey with Christ, he's going to move you into a lot of spaces that feel unknown. That's part of walking the way. But you need to stay on the way. Also in the beginning, some of the spaces aren't just unknown. Some of them feel unsafe. Some of them will feel unsafe. What do you mean? Jesus wants me to be safe. No. Jesus wants you to be with him. Jesus sends his disciples out on the boat in the Sea of Galilee. They're going to do a ministry hop from one port on the Sea of Galilee to another, and they're going to do a shortcut across the lake. Instead of walking the 14 miles, they're going to cut straight across. It's 9 miles. These guys know water. They know what it means to boat. These are longshoremen, fishermen. They know how to maneuver the Sea of Galilee. They've done it their entire life. This isn't unknown space. But instantly, because of the topography, it becomes unsafe space. The storms roll in, the waves start to hit. And even for these longshore fishermen, they become petrified. And Jesus shows up. The waves are hitting, the storm is blowing, the wind is coming at them, and that boat is beginning to rock. And you're like, this isn't safe. I'm following Jesus, and it feels like things are falling apart, and the foundation is moving underneath my feet. Yeah. Truth. Why would Jesus do that? Jesus moves us into unsafe spaces, what feel unsafe, because there's also things in our life that need to die. It's the law of subtraction, not the law of addition. There's things that need to plummet to the bottom of the sea. There's things that need to drown, like your pride, like your sinful habits, like your degenerate relationships. Things that need to go overboard, things that need to leave the boat, that if you keep them in the boat, in the midst of the rocking, it will completely capsize you. It'll completely flip you over. So Jesus is like, you got to get that out of here. That needs to go. That cannot stay. I get you used to drink yourself to a stupor on Friday night. That's not what we do anymore. I get you used to talk like a sailor. That's not what we do anymore. I get your marriage used to be about serving you. Now it's about serving her. There's things that need to die. And so he will take us to unsafe spaces. where we are desperately looking for Jesus and we are petrified and we are afraid because that boat is moving. So that faith stays anchored on him. Especially those, my early brothers and sisters. Do not be surprised in the first years of your faith if you don't find yourself in unknown spaces, feeling unsafe spaces. But stay on the way. Would you say that with me? Stay on the way. Well, let's not talk about spaces. Let's talk about paces. Do you ever feel like God doesn't go fast enough? Like, God, if we could really move this along, this would be awesome. Like, I watched the presidential debate. Could you come back now? Like, is that possible? Like, could you do that? Because that would be a win. That would be a win. I'm not going to do it. Aren't you proud of me? She likes me. We get into situations where it feels like, Jesus, I need you to go faster. Would you go faster, please? Like, there's things that need to happen, and you're really jamming this up. Could we move along? John chapter 11, if you've been with us for this year in John, you'll know it right away. One of Jesus' best friends, Lazarus, gets very, very sick, on the edge of death. And Jesus takes his time coming home. He takes his time journeying back to his friend's home. He lingers. He lingers on purpose. When he gets there, one of the sisters runs out and says what maybe you would have said or I would have said. If you had been here sooner, this wouldn't have happened. If you had moved things along, if you had kept up with my time frame, I would not be feeling what I'm feeling right now. I would not have to do what I did now. Jesus, why can't we pick this thing up? In situations where we're wrestling with pace, what we need to understand is that Jesus is trying to and working to deepen our faith. He's taking something in our physical reality or our emotional, mental reality that's very palpable, that's very near us, to impart something that's deeper and spiritual underneath it. He's having a conversation with Lazarus' sister outside the tomb, and Jesus is trying to assure, you're going to see him again. He's going to live again. And she's like, I know in the end time, I know that I will see him again at the resurrection at the end. And she's like, no. Sister, here. I'm the resurrection. I'm the life. He's taking something that's here. He's trying to move it down to here. And to do that, he's got to slow down. He's got to slow down. He's got to slow you down. Book of Proverbs says, if you go too fast, you miss the way. If you go too fast, I saw that, man, when we were portaging and getting those canoes in the dock and delivery, and people just having a good old time, not paying attention. Boo! I'm like, see y'all. Completely missed the place where they're supposed to get off, and now they have the hard work of paddling upstream. How many of you know what it means for Jesus to take his time in your life? You've been praying about this for years. You've been waiting for decades. Yeah. But sometimes it's not that he's going slow. Sometimes he stops the train altogether. Have you ever been there? He puts a complete hard stop and there's a delay and nothing moves. I got a couple of sisters who know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Like, we would like to move and God, you stopped. Nothing is moving. What you need to know is sometimes it's not about you. Sometimes when things stop, it's not about you. In John chapter 4, Jesus is leading the disciples to Samaria. No Jew belongs in Samaria. We should not be in Samaria. This is not a good place for us to be. But it's not about them. It's about a woman who in the middle of the day is going to walk up the hill to the city well so that she can get water. It's about her. It's about finding a woman who's off the way and getting her on the way. And through the conversation that Jesus has with the woman at the well, her entire city is going to respond to the gospel message of Jesus. Sometimes when it feels like there's a stop, it's not about you. It's about somebody around you, somebody near you, somebody Jesus needs to connect with. But sometimes it is about you. Jesus is communicating with the disciples. We have this in John chapter 13. And he's talking about, I'm going away. And Peter, love Peter. I was supposed to love Thomas right now. Love Peter. Oh, where are you going? I can go. Jesus, where you are going, I can go too. What you can go through, I can go through. And Jesus is like, really? Really? You can do what I'm about to do. You can carry the cross. You can bring upon yourself. You can confront the temptation and the trial and the sin. You can face Pilate. You can endure. Yeah, I'm good. Where are you going? I can do this too. And Jesus flat out says, you cannot go where I'm going. You can't do it. You will when you're older. You will when you've grown. You will when you've matured. You will when you've learned. Pete, just being honest, dude, I love you. You'll deny me 3 times before the sun rises tomorrow. You cannot do. In fact, we're going to put a hard stop right now because there's some things you need to learn. I've learned that. Have you ever had that happen to you? God puts a hard stop. Not because of someone else, but because there was something I refused to learn, something I refused to give up, something I refused to give over. And through the Spirit, tenderly, kindly, surgically, Paul, we're not moving forward until we deal with this. But in that, use that delay, use that pace to stay on the way. All right, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm feeling. This is what my mentors are showing me. I need to stay on the way. What lesson do I need to learn? What do I need to give over? What needs to be subtracted from? What needs to go out of the boat? In the unknown spaces, the unsafe spaces, when God seems to go slow, when God seems to stop me altogether. We've been watching the Olympic trials on TV. Any of you guys watching the Olympic trials? Yeah, that's fun. That's great. They work out a little bit. I'm sitting here eating my popcorn. Go you! Well done. Awesome. It amazes me as these athletes from all around the country are working to get on the United States Olympic team, one team. But what I know, and you know this too, one team, but they each run different races, don't they? It's one team, but they run different races. Watching this one woman, she runs 200 sprint. Man, she's fast. Like if you ever watch the 200, it's a staggered start because they got to come around the bend. So it looks like there's 4 or 5 people ahead of her, but just because of how the distance lies out, coming around the bend, it all end in the same space. They start that race in 1 second. She's already past the people that are ahead of her. She just booking it. And she just kind of like, her shoulders are moving. Her like, and she just comes, she fans yeah, this is what I do. I'm good. I mean, and she's done. She's done. It's amazing. Amazing. Others, 5,000 meter steeple chase. You guys know what a steeple is? It's like a hurdle on cocaine. Okay? That's what, it's like bigger than a table. It's a 4x4 timber that you got to jump over. Sometimes you jump over into water. There's obstacles, and they're doing this for 5,000 meters. It's incredible. This other girl, she holds the record for discus. Beast mode. Okay? And she's just having a good old time, man, whipping this discus, I don't know, miles it feels like. And she's just like, "Kah!" And she screams at the top of her lungs, and we're all like, yeah! And everyone's dodging out of the way because it's just flying. It's incredible. If you got the girl who ran the 200 and won it and put her next to the woman who ran the 5,000 meter steeple and put her next to the woman who holds the record for discus, you would see three very different women built differently with different strengths and different weaknesses because it's all the same team, but they all run different races. That the lane I'm in is not the lane you're in. And what I need to remember in those moments is that I need to become critical of my race, critique my faith, and encourage their faith. A woman who ran the 200, like everyone knew she was going to win. Like everyone else just should have gone home. She comes across, and of course the sportscaster comes up to her and says, hey, what did you think? Any reflections? And this is what she was, yeah, I just tried to focus on what my coach and I had worked about coming around that bend, to keep my stride a certain way and focus on the breathing and stay focused. She was critical and critiqued her run. You know what she didn't do? So, tell us about your race. Well, I'd really like to talk about the girl who throws the discus because I want to make some observations for her. Or, you know what? I saw the girl who's still running the 500. If she'd go a little bit faster, I'm sure she'd be fine. She understood, the Olympic athlete understood, to critique her race and encourage others. That's the space that we need to be into. That what if when we showed up on Sunday mornings or got together in our life groups or had coffee with one another, we were honest about our faith. Hey, how can I grow in my faith? Not, hey, there's something I think you need to know. That what if when we got together on Sunday morning, we did more of this? Way to go. You made it. I know this week was hell for you. You stayed on the path. You are running your race. I'm praying for you. You are doing awesome. You keep it up. You keep it up. I can't imagine how hard that is. Is there anything that I could do to grow? Because when we stay on the way, same team, but we do run different races. Jesus talks to Peter, get him to stay on the way. Peter got off his course. Peter got distracted. Peter thought he could do something he really couldn't do. And Jesus has this moment with him by the lake. And he starts to unpack, hey, this is what lies ahead of you. You need to understand, Peter. They will crucify you. They will crucify you the way they crucified me when you're older. And I would have done the same thing that Pete did. What about John? Are they going to kill him too? I mean, if I got to die, does he have to die? He doesn't understand. Same team, different races. You gotta love Jesus' words. If I want him to live until I come back, what's that to you? You follow me. You run your race. You focus on your challenges. You focus on your faith. You follow me. Well, if the road is through something to something, what is that something that we're going to? What is that something that we're heading to? If it is a prescribed path to a preferred place, what's that place? Jesus says to Thomas and the disciples, I am the way. No one comes to the Father except through me. Except through me. I cannot stress how important that truth is. This is why many Christians get frustrated. Because this road leads to the Father. Jesus is about reconciliation, sinners with the Father, restoration to the Father, making you home ready, homebound. And many Christians want to add Jesus to the pot of tools because they think Jesus will give you something else on the path or take you to another place. Well, I saw some preacher online and he said that if I sent him some seed money, then I could have my mansion now. My best life now. Who wants your best life now? Like, that's a letdown. Jesus is not about you being happy. There is joy and there is delight, but there's hardship and there's confusion and there's unknown and there's unsafe. He's moving us towards the Father. Do you not understand what it means to follow Jesus, whose path took him to the cross and took him to torture and took him to death? That's what we pick up. That's what we carry. He's taking us to the Father. Another reason people struggle with that destination is because the more he moves us towards the Father, the farther he pulls us from the world. Okay? And you will feel that tension. You'll start to feel that separation. That, oh, my marriage is supposed to be different. Oh, how I talk is supposed to be different. Oh, how I drink is supposed to be different. Oh, how I eat and spend and treat my kids is supposed to be different. And the more he moves me, the more I hear the world go, hey, what you doing Friday night? You should come over. Hey, what you want to see online? Come take a look. Because the world will not let us go quietly into that good night. And so we feel as we walk the way, the more the world wants to pull us away. But in that, stay on the way. So you keep praying and you keep reading and you keep attending. You keep meeting with your life group and you keep being here on Sunday morning. You do the hard thing. I could watch online and eat Cheerios. I could show up and have people ask me hard questions. Tolkien wrote a beautiful book called The Hobbit. If you've watched the movie, anyone watch the movie? Yeah, it's bad. Just read the book. Read the book. It's amazing. It's a story of a hobbit, a little guy, and a bunch of dwarves. And they go on this journey. And they battle dragons, and they get all this treasure in a mountain. And they're guided by this wise wizard named Gandalf. And there's this point in the story where Gandalf leads them to this forest called Mirkwood. And it's dark and ominous. And Gandalf cannot go with them through the forest. He has to be someplace else. And Gandalf simply says to them, you've got one job. Stay on the path. You have one job. Stay on the path. If you get off the path, it will lead to destruction. You'll get lost. You'll wander. You just need to stay on the path. If you stay on the path, it will be fine. If you stay on the, say it. But what did the Christians do? I mean, the hobbits and the dwarfs do. Oh, there's some fires over there, and it sounds like they're having a party. Gandalf said, stay on the path. I know, but there's a party over there. If we go to the party, who knows? There's fire. We can't make fire. We're just staying on the path. What if we went over there? And so what do? They leave the path. And it leads to struggle and strain and pain and imprisonment. They just needed to stay on the way. Maybe this morning, it's just encouragement for you. I got to stay on the way. Yes, I don't know what's going on right now. I don't need to know what's going on right now. Jesus is the way. Maybe you're a little scared right now. Maybe it's time to get rid of something. Maybe it's time that something needs to be subtracted. Maybe it's time for that pride to die. Maybe it's time for that stronghold to be torn down. Maybe he's slowing you down. What do I need to learn, Father? What do I need to learn? Would you take out your connection cards? In your notes, there's a connection card that's a tear off. Let's all tear it off together. Everyone has to tear it off. If you don't tear it off, you're a loser. He's not very nice. No, I'm not. He needs to go back on vacation. Everyone tear it off. Because for each of you, maybe there's one of those areas that resonates with where you are in your faith. Paul, I feel like it's unknown. I don't know what's going. Just maybe you could write that and we could talk about it. We could get together and talk about that unknown space. Or maybe you're feeling an unsafe space and you think maybe God is saying that you need to dump that overboard, but you're not sure and you're really hoping it's not true. Or maybe there's a wandering. He's slowing down. He's stopping. Maybe you're having a hard time focusing on your own race. Or staying focused on that eternal place. Just write that down. Write down your name. Hey, I'm struggling with this. It's unknown. It's unsafe. It's pace. It's delay. And I'd love to, if you put that in the basket, we could get together and talk about those things. For the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. He is with me. His rod, his staff, they comfort me. He prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Anoints my head with oil. My cup, it overflows. Goodness and mercy follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of my Father forever. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and we'd love for the journey to continue. If you're a guest, would you consider reaching out to us? We would love to come alongside and encourage you in any way that we can. If you're someone who's joined us today and you are desperately reaching to find hope wherever you can, again, Jesus came that we would find hope. You can find hope today. If you want to send us a short note, a member of our Hope team would reach out quickly, promptly, to come alongside and see what we can do to encourage you in whatever storm you might find yourself in. That's why Jesus came. That's why we're here. Jesus said there's two ways to live your life. And a wise man, a wise woman, builds their life on Jesus' instructions. God bless.